A big problem with that is that if you are a good maintainer, you really don't have to grow. And then if you don't grow, all you'll ever get is all you've ever got. You've already reached your destination. And as the saying goes, life is about the journey, not the destination. So to have fulfillment and meaning in your life, you must journey. And to journey, you must grow. Hey you, I'm Mark, husband of one, father of three, maker of puns, climber of trees, grower of businesses, pitcher of tents, occasional cutter of cheese, word nerd, and lover of families. Oh no. Oh no, not yet. No. Oh, here he comes. Where's my oar? Showed that cracking who's boss. At least until like 2 p.m. this afternoon. I think I'll be due for another attack by then. Let's jump into it. Hey, welcome to all of you, bandits and chilies. This episode is called Mindset, Identity, and Growth Lessons from Kids. Well, one kid in particular, as you'll see, but running a business and having kids are both things that will teach you a lot about yourself and make you grow if you let them. This week, I've been really inspired by my oldest, Felix. He's 4, and a few days ago, I wrote a post about him, which I'm going to reference here, but little did I know that he wasn't done with his growth and inspiration for the week. Just today, before I'm recording this episode, Felix learned to ride a bike. And good for him, but also for me, this is like a new level unlock, title award, dad badge received. It's kind of cliche, the dad teaching his son to ride a bike. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't love every minute of that journey. But today, just watching him get it and go, wow, it is really a special moment. In fact, this week's podcast was going to be something else entirely, but I just had to record this today whilst this is fresh because there's a lot here to unpack, and it's not just proud dad bragging. There's a little bit of that, but this genuinely taught me really valuable lessons about life, business, mindset, and growth. Before we get to that on the bike riding front, let's go back in time to last Thursday, the 9th of January 2025 at 11:17 a.m., give or take 3 minutes. The kids and I had just rocked up to a park near a lake with a playground, and it was time for the kids to get out of the car. Side note, this takes forever with our kids. If you have kids, can you relate to this? Do your kids do this? Can you explain it? Our kids are really slow to get into the car, slow to get out of the car. I don't get it. Like, it's hot in the car. There's a playground outside. We've arrived to do the thing that we're here to do. Anyway, it's a mystery to me, but let me know your insights if you've got them. So, Felix, he's meandering out of the car, and then he hits me with a classic, "Dad, watch this," which, from a 4-year-old, is most often followed by something pretty mundane, and it's generally timed pretty poorly. Like, the baby is screaming, dinner is burning, and you've just stubbed your toe on the corner of the bench. Guaranteed, if you meet those 3 conditions, you've got a, "Dad, watch this," coming your way. Always the worst timing, always pretty mundane. No offense. I love my kids, but I'm not impressed by your interpretive dance of a half spin while you jump and then kind of fall gracelessly into a heap. Maybe it's art and maybe I just don't get it, but anyway, this time was different. Felix lifts himself out of the car with one hand on his sister's car seat and the other on the back of the driver's seat, leaping the footwell gap. It was pretty gracefully executed and I was genuinely impressed, and I told him that he did a great job, that it was very clever, etc. And then he hit me with this line, and I immediately wrote this line down because I knew I'd have to come back to this and think about it. He said, "I can do that because I'm 4. So I got the kids over to the playground, I pulled out my phone, and I wrote that down, and whilst I was watching them do whatever they're doing, I was like mulling it over in my brain. So I've done the mulling now, so let's pick it apart for a moment, because there's 2 things that really stood out to me from this. Firstly, I can because I am. That was the structure of the sentence that he used. I can because I am. That really encapsulates a lot of aspects of mindset and identity. From the little engine that thought he could to Henry Ford's whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I was trying to think of an adult equivalent because we rarely speak like that unprompted. For some reason, the first thing that came to my mind related to a friend of mine and very much not to myself, because I am about as musically gifted as a wind chime. But I've got a friend who he has a really great ear for music. Literally one really great ear because he's deaf in the other one. So he could, for example, now he wouldn't say this because we don't tend to speak like this, but he could, for example, say, I can play by ear because I am a talented musician. And what's interesting about that is that it highlights something really important about identity. It's kind of a chicken and egg problem. Are you gifted, skilled, and adept at something, and so therefore you become the thing and say, I am a musician? Or do you train and hone those skills along the way, beginning to call yourself what you hope to become, though what you aren't yet? I think it's both. For example, I recently started something brand new. It's a podcast. You should check it out. It's called the Family Oriented Business Growers Podcast. I think it's pretty good. Anyway, am I a podcaster? I guess definitionally I am. I have a podcast. Yay, congratulations. Hi. But I don't necessarily feel like I'm a podcaster. And conversely, I could have laid claim to that identity a couple of months ago prior to launching this podcast, since I was doing a lot of podcasty things, recording audio, editing, writing out ideas, teeing up interviews, learning how to publish a podcast. In many things, there seems to be no clear divide between I am not and I am. But whatever area that could describe that divide, it's certainly a stage of becoming. So do you become that which you aspire to be, or are you what you do? In my opinion, it's both. If you want to take on a new identity, grow strong in an area that you were previously weak, then you need to step into that new identity. That can be done by laying claim to that identity alongside building up a body of evidence through your actions to back up that claim. Alex Hormozi said, "You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt." Right now, I'm doing a 90-day challenge to change my habits and attitudes towards diet, exercise, and work. It isn't a 90-day stint and then I'm done. I just thought that 90 days would be a good amount of runway to bridge the gap between identities. 90 days of becoming what I am not yet. 90 days to build up a stack of evidence in support of the new claim that I am making on myself. So, back to Felix. I can because I am. What a statement. And he said it like fully confident. Fantastic. The second part of this that I wanted to dissect is that he said, I can do that because I'm for. Because I'm for. Kids intuitively understand that they are made to grow. They just take it as a given that I am 4 now and therefore I can do this. Soon I will be 5 and you just watch me. I'm going to do that. They understand that they are growing and developing. Joshua Latimer is fond of saying that everything God made, he made to grow and expand. Kids get that. Fundamentally, it is their identity, one of growth and development. What else could they understand? This is all they've ever done. From before they can even remember, they've just learned new things and suddenly started doing them. They grab things, they learn to roll, they learn to sit, they learn to crawl, they learn to walk, to run, to jump, to climb, to wash their hands, to chop their food, to ride a bike. That's just who they are. They know that they can reasonably expect to be doing a heap of cool new stuff in a year or two because they have that track record, that body of evidence, and they see other kids doing that stuff and intuitively understand that they can because they are bigger. So when I am bigger, I will do that too. At some point, we lose some of that. It's easy in becoming an adult to settle into a rhythm of routine in which you excel to the degree that you do by maintaining certain behaviors and habits, not by growing. I want to dwell on that and kind of repeat and rephrase that part because I think this is really important. At some point, we lose that childhood claim on identity that, of course, we're just going to continue growing and developing. It's easy, as part of being an adult, to settle into a rhythm of routine in which you excel to the degree that you excel by maintaining certain behaviors and habits, not by growing. So then that becomes our identity, one of maintenance, not of growth. You have responsibilities and you fulfill them. Your bills are paid, your car is serviced, and all the while, and this is a big thing I think for a lot of people, I've fallen into this as well, you're using entertainment and recreation to rekindle childlike joy whilst missing that as a child, you were growing. Kids are not afraid to fail in the same way that we tend to be as adults. I believe that the appropriate way to relive your childhood is by intentionally crafting a great childhood for your own kids. In doing that, you can experience the joy of playing with model trains on the floor or running around in the sprinkler in the backyard, and see to it that magic moments are made for your own kids. I don't think that you should live vicariously through your kids, but in this way, you can kind of unlock little gems of childhood by being the facilitator who makes it happen, who pays for the party food and the jumping castle, who cooks and cleans and deals with the boring logistics to enable the kids to exert their pure, powerful emotions on scenes of utter epicness. Now, I want to go on a little tiny tangent here, and hey, who's going to stop me? Movie nights. We've been doing movie nights recently with the kids, and we've set it up as just a bit of an experience. We have a little cubby thing that it's like a sort of, you put a couple of poles together, it's like a little tent, and so we set that up as the cinema. And then Michaela and I take on different roles. I'm the ticket guy. They have to come and purchase their tickets from me. We take cash or card. Then with their ticket, they get a paper ticket as well as a voucher for snacks. So then they have to take the snacks voucher to the snack lady, and they redeem whatever combination of snacks may be on offer that particular evening. Then I swap hats that I'm wearing, and they come around, and all of a sudden I'm the usher, and I clip their tickets as they go through, and then we set them up in the cinema, right? And so it's a whole experience. Now, that just turns this mundane thing of like, oh, we're watching a movie, into this little adventure for the kids. And it's a little bit silly. And I get to really enjoy that through their eyes by, pretending to play the role of these different characters. And it's so much fun to do that. But all right, hold on. As that relates to the point here, I'm just gonna come back from this. I've probably chased one too many rabbits. But the point I was getting at before chasing those rabbits was that as adults in our culture, we can, and I've done this at times as well, but we can fall into using entertainment and recreation to rekindle childlike joy, trying to relive our childhood whilst missing that as a child you were growing. When you had that sleepover at age 7, you were organically learning really important social skills that you would need later, and you were being brave enough to spend the night away from mum and dad. When you play with Lego into your mid-40s, and yet you're not consciously growing and developing, that is just not optimal to your very being. I'm not hating on Lego, that's not the point. It could be movies, board games, collecting figurines, it doesn't matter. Those things are not in and of themselves wrong or problematic. My point is that we can get caught up in the nostalgia, enjoying the thing for the sake of the thing, and as a result of that thing, neglect our own growth and development. Kids enjoy kid things, and they are growing and developing alongside them and with the aid of them. Kids can have a fear of failure, but they will overcome it, at least in all of the milestone kinds of ways that I mentioned earlier, like running, bike riding, climbing, etc. As adults, though, sometimes we become such maintainers that growth scares us and we might not even try. A big problem with that is that if you are a good maintainer, you really don't have to grow. And then if you don't grow, all you'll ever get is all you've ever got. You've already reached your destination. And as the saying goes, life is about the journey, not the destination. So to have fulfillment and meaning in your life, you must journey. And to journey, you must grow. Felix has really got me thinking that I would like to be able to say, I can do that because I'm 31. And then next year, I'd like to improve upon that with things that I can only now do because I'm 32. It's a mindset of assumed growth. Of course I'll be better next year. How could I not be? That's just who I am. Love it, Felix. Fantastic. Now, today, the bike riding thing. Firstly, before we get into that, just 2 quick tips for getting your kid to ride a bike. Balance bikes are the freaking best. Michaela didn't learn to ride a bike until she was 7. I think I was about 5 or 6. Felix is 4, and one of my nephews learned to ride a bike at 3. Balance bikes are a game changer because it teaches kids the most important thing of what they need to know about riding a bike, which is how to balance. And so that's a really big thing. We didn't even do training wheels at all. Training wheels could be helpful because it could help them to learn like the pedaling motion whilst they're... Anyway, that doesn't matter. But The second tip I have is a hack that I found on TikTok, which was you get a towel and you put it under the arms of the child, and kind of under the arms and then like around the back, and then you loop both ends of the towel and you hold it in your hand like a harness. And what that allows you to do is to stabilize the child on the bike without you having to bend down and hold the child, hold the bike, hold the seat, whatever. Which, obviously you don't want to do because you're a parent, you're old now, and everything hurts all the time. So you don't want to do that. So you can hold them from an upright position, which is really handy. But also, it allows you to get a gauge for where they're at. You're getting constant feedback on how much you are balancing them on the bike versus how much you don't need to balance them because they're doing it. And that's exactly what happened today. I noticed, as I'd sort of been loosening the towel a bit more and a bit more, I noticed that he was going like several meters at a time where I was not doing anything with this towel. And so I was like, all right, let's try it without the towel. And away he went. He was off. So that's the tips for bike riding. But what I learned from Felix learning to ride his bike, right? So back to the main theme stuff here. That thing that I just described about loosening the towel, to me, that really speaks to the value of having a coach, someone who knows what you need, someone who has done what you're seeking to do. I have benefited so much from coaching in various areas of my life. And having that support, that sort of harness, if you will, and then also having that person say, I can see that you're ready to do that thing. So, go forth and do it. Is really super valuable in growing and developing into something that you have not done before. The second thing, and this is kind of a cliche thing. I didn't actually look this up if this is like someone's specific quote or not, but basically that you can't learn to ride a bike by reading a book. And the reason that is that there's different types of knowledge. So procedural knowledge is like the how-to. That's what you need to understand in order to ride a bike. You can't just ride a bike with conceptual, factual, or declarative knowledge. Now, I actually showed Felix a video after we got home from the park and the bike riding and all that. I showed him a video of how to set off on a bike, because that's like the last thing that he needs to learn is how to start himself on the bike, because he still needs help with that bit. And this video explained it a lot better than I could, and it was very, very visual, right? So he got that. But having that resource, whether it was a video or a book or anything else, having a resource like that without actually doing the thing is not going to help you at all. So Felix can apply that video, and we talked about it, and then we sort of took the bike out again just before dinner and had another go at it. And he can apply that information because he's doing the thing. So if for, stuff that you want to do, you have to consume information and educate yourself on the topic, but it needs to be in conjunction with the procedural knowledge, the application of that knowledge, the actual doing of the thing, because you learn so much from doing. So that's that. Now, another thing that I thought was really interesting was that within 2 minutes of learning to ride on his own, he'd also learnt how to stop on his own, which he couldn't do before. So it was just this like really quick escalation of things. It's just like, yep, I can do this. And now all of a sudden the need for him to stop on his own presented itself, because previously I was doing the whole harness thing. And so when he needed to stop, I was inherently like kind of there to catch him anyway, right? But now he was off riding on his own. If he determined that he needed to stop, well, that was entirely on him. And it reminds me of the expression, a new devil at every level. It's like, now that you're off riding on your own, you then need to figure out, okay, this is a problem that has now presented itself. What do I do? So immediately he figured that next step out. And then within 5 minutes, he was demonstrating great traffic navigation skills, which I just thought was really impressive, because I didn't expect it, to be honest. I was expecting it to be more like he is now just this essentially moving projectile, and he would be totally unpredictable, and that everyone in the space was essentially in danger. That's kind of what I thought would happen. But he was doing really well with steering, with pace, and just kind of staying out of the way and trying not to crash into people, and or stopping to let like a group of people pass because he was not confident enough to ride through it. which I don't really have a point, honestly, with that. I just made dot points about what I remembered from today's experience, and that just really stood out to me, and I'm just really... That's just a proud dad moment. I don't necessarily have an application point on that, but you got to hear it anyway. The next one, though, there is a point to this. So, because of all of that, this new experience, new skill unlocked, he's off doing his thing. He then really had a firm desire to explore. He wanted to explore. We were going to do another lap after he'd learnt to ride the bike. We're going to do another lap of this lake so that he could, just ride the whole thing, basically, practice. And he was finding things all around the place. He's like, there's this other path that goes over here. Can I do that? There's a bridge. Can I ride over the bridge? So with his newfound skill, he had a newfound pride, and he just wanted to apply that skill. And I guess the lesson in that, in terms of like growth and development in any area, is that proficiency breeds joy. You really enjoy doing something when you're good at it. So when he was now able to ride this bike, he just wanted to ride it everywhere. Why? Because he could ride a bike, right? Like, what else is there to do? Of course, that's what you do. When you can ride a bike, you ride a bike. And as a result of that, this brings us to the next point. He was so energized from this, it just set the tone for the entire day. I'm going to be honest, we were all in a bit of a funk this morning. It was just one of those days, or it seemed to be shaping out to one of those days where things were a bit clunky, and we're trying to get out of the door, and that's being a bit clunky with the kids, trying to get them ready and whatever, and it just didn't feel like it was all going to go well. But Felix turned the day around because his energy after learning how to ride a bike was infectious. And that was in addition to all of the proud positivity coming from mum and dad. His energy was just like off the charts. He was so proud of himself, and rightly so. And then our soon-to-be 3-year-old, Addie, she wanted to do that too. She was inspired by his growth and development. And then she's trying to ride the bike. And she kept telling me to let her go, even though she can't really pedal yet. So I'm like trying to explain to her how I can't let her go because she needs to do that or she'll fall. I don't think she really fully understood that. I think the only way to make her understand that would be to let her fall, but I don't think that's a lesson worth learning at this point. I think instead we can just teach her to pedal. But point being, when you grow and develop in anything, you can inherently be the inspiration for someone else in doing a similar thing. And on the flip side of that, Addie intuitively understands that she is destined to ride a bike. She knows that she will do it. She has been inspired by her older brother to try and bring that future achievement to now, but she's got full confidence that that's just something that's going to happen. So that kind of speaks to that whole identity, mindset, assumed growth thing from earlier. The next point I had on notes of what I took away from him learning to ride a bike was that, as I said, we went out this morning and then we went out again just before dinner. And by then, he was actually really starting to get the hang of starting on his own as per that video and stuff. He hasn't quite got it, but he's pretty well got it. So within a day, he's gone from not being able to ride a bike to being able to ride a bike, being able to stop on his own, just about being able to start on his own, managing, traffic and speed and all this stuff. And kids are just like this. Like, with everything, they just level up, they unlock a new skill and ability, and all of a sudden, they just do the thing. Oh yeah, me? I can ride a bike, no worries. Want me to ride one right now? Yeah, where are we going? No stress. Like, they're just incredible. And sometimes, it doesn't feel like that for us. Like, we try and do something, and it feels like everything, it just takes forever. But in a lot of ways, it does... It kind of, a lot of nothing happens and then it all happens at once. It all starts coming together, but you have to push through a lot of the nothing or a lot of the seeming nothing and be attached to the inputs and not worrying about the outputs. If you take care of the inputs will take care of themselves. So the next thing that I thought of was that people talk about like a work-life balance. Now, I have learned that a better way to look at that is to view all aspects of life as one thing. It's not work and life and health and finances and Lego. It's just all life. All of it. So acknowledging that, we can then plan life in seasons, not literal seasons of 3 months, but just periods of time. Perhaps this season is one focused on family and connection and exploration at the expense of progress in business and finance and Lego. Or perhaps your next season focuses on explosive business growth and personal development at the expense of a family holiday and maintaining a 100% organic whole food diet. Having said that, returning to the concept of balance, I find it interesting that on a bike, it's when you are moving fastest that it's easiest to balance. When you're going very slow or you're stopped, it's hard to balance. Nerd alert, the reason for this is the conservation of the non-zero angular momentum. Angular momentum, of course, being the quantity of rotation of a body, which is the product of its moment of inertia and its angular velocity. Translation, it's easy to balance when in motion. I looked that up and I wanted to share it because it sounded cool. Like, not the schoolyard kind of cool, more, well, look, I guess maybe cool isn't the word, nerdy. It sounded nerdy. Anyway, my point is that in life, you can get more done when you are in motion. You might have heard the old adage, if you want a task done quickly, ask a busy person to do it. Why is that true? Well, think about a day when you're in a funk. Maybe you don't have total clarity on what you need to do that day, or you just aren't in a state that feels like doing it. Therefore, everything feels like a struggle. On that day, you might do 4 out of 10 things that you were supposed to do, for example. Contrast that with a day when you're feeling productive and aligned with your purpose. You can not only do all 10 out of 10 things that you were supposed to do, but you'll just be pulling things ahead, getting extra stuff done. And if someone asks you to do something, you're just like in a productivity flow state and you'll get it done with hardly any effort. As with Felix learning to ride his bike, getting yourself into that initial motion can be the last skill to learn, the hardest part of the process. But once you figure that out, you can bring more balance and productivity into your life. Achieve more of the things that you are seeking to achieve in a shorter amount of time and enjoy doing it by conserving the non-zero angular momentum. If you've enjoyed this episode or any of the episodes so far, can you please do me a massive favor and share it with someone who you think it might resonate with? Come on, you know that I know that you know someone who wants to hear about conserving non-zero angular momentum. It will take you 32 seconds to share this. That's less time than you've spent today thinking about non-zero angular momentum. If in doubt, share this in a home service industry Facebook group and help me whisper in the ears of those family-oriented business growers out there in the wild who need to be invited to join the other family-oriented business growers in our school group via warplan.au. Back to our scheduled program. Your challenge from today's episode is to write down your I can because I am statement and also make an I will statement for next year. So for example, I can make lame jokes on a podcast because I'm 31. And when I am 32, I'll be able to complete an Ironman. Speaking of making lame jokes on a podcast, tomorrow when Felix asks if he can ride his bike, I'm going to tell him that he can't because his bike is too tired. Get it? Because it's got, there's 2 tires. It's too tired. Anyway. That's it. Have an awesome day. Make someone else's day awesome. Hug and kiss the people that you should hug and kiss. Celebrate the wins with your blues and bingos. Catch ya. Bye. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Are you sniffing what I'm stepping in? If you're looking for a really valuable community centered around building your business, being really intentional with your spouse and kids, and if you think you can tolerate my terrible dad jokes, then join Family-Oriented Business Growers. It's awesome. There's self-paced challenges designed to help you solve key pain points within your business in short, intentional sprints. There's awesome people in there doing awesome things who have experience with stuff that can help you having stood where you stand. You'll benefit from what's in there, we'll benefit from having you in there, you legend you, and best of all, it's totally free and also free of toxic shenanigans because we don't tolerate none of that. The mission of the group is to help 250 family-oriented home service business owners reclaim 5 hours per week for what matters most whilst growing their business this year. So jump in there and get amongst it. Join via warplan.au, that's warplan.au. Oh no. He's early. Warplan.au. Catch you in there. Ah!